Today's podcast guest is Korin Sutton. Korin is a vegan bodybuilder and coach who also served in the military for 8 years. And before we get started, just make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave a like if you want to see more podcasts in the future. Let's get into it.
Well, I appreciate you getting on the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. All right, so let's get into it.
Awesome.
So I see on your Instagram that you're a vegan bodybuilder. So
Absolutely.
just out of curiosity, what got you into veganism?
Yeah. I've been vegan for over 13 years. And what got me into it was pretty much it all started when I was in the military. So I did about 8 years in the United States Marine Corps, fully active service, deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom 3 and 4, and then also did another 4 years in the United States Navy Reserves. And when I was in the reserves, I was going to college at the same time, and I had an elective doing persuasive speaking. It was like public speaking class, and we were learning about persuasive speaking. And they invited a special guest. His name was or is Gary Roski, and he's a vegan activist. Like, he doesn't really do it anymore, like the whole activism stuff, but like he's still vegan, and he'll do little things here and there. But he did his speech about veganism, and he went over ethics, health, medical reasons why I should do it. And it just enlightened me. It really enticed me because at the time I was a big meat eater.
Yeah.
And when I say big, like big time, like I was just like
Yeah.
how everyone is now, like, oh, you have to eat meat. I was that. I was literally that guy, but
Yeah.
not that big, because obviously back then social media was nicer. It was about like just posting what you're doing, partying, like
Yeah.
it was like it is at its infant stage. No
I
one
mean, recently the carnivore diet has been trending.
yeah, like big time,
Yeah.
and I put on muscle, eating meat and stuff like that, I was fairly healthy. I mean, I was eating vegetables and stuff like that, it was more balanced, more holistic, you could say. But what really enticed me was pretty much when he talked about how animals were being treated in factory farms. And that's what got my attention, because see, the thing with me, I witnessed how human beings treat themselves at its worst. I was in a combat unit. It was the Marine Expeditionary Unit 22, and I was attached with the infantry unit as well, and we got a lot of support because I was in logistics for Motor T. And when doing all these war campaigns and missions, I've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, I've seen a lot of my comrades suffer with PTSD. I've seen people die in my unit. So I've seen even the enemy, or however you want to call it, just other people who are combatants die as well.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, and when I witnessed all of that, it was like the facial expressions. Like, a lot of people feel that animals are stupid beings. They don't know, they're not aware, they're only meant for commodity, for food.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. And that's only because, and this is my personal opinion, I feel that because when you witness such great lengths of stress and war, and really see how people actually die in real life, you start realizing other living beings when it comes to the eyes, facial expressions. And when I saw the eyes, you can see with animals, they know, like, they're about to get done, like they're about to die. You can see the fear. And it's the same look that I saw within the eyes and the face, very similar to humans. And that was the first time I actually made that connection. Like, I was just like it just hit me like hard. And it was something I could never shake out of my head. I could never shake it out of my mind, because like, I just see it, that correlation. And that's when I was like, And I was skeptical too, but it
Yeah.
just felt too real, and I was just like, first thing I did was went up to Gary Roski and I was just like, look, like, I have nothing against what you do, but same arguments, like, what first, like, humans been eating meat for centuries, and where would I get the protein and stuff like that? And he just talked to me, pulled me to the side, and he's like, well, it's highly possible to do it. Hit me up and I'll help you out. Make a long story short, I went pescatarian first because, for me, I was like, let me take my time. Let me work this out first. Let me see if this is true. Because Gary
Yeah, it's
Ross,
like transition.
yeah, I transitioned, like transition because I was like, it can't hurt to eat more vegetables. I mean, I'm already eating it already. I already ate plant-based foods anyway on a normal day basis. It's just now I'm just doing more. It's like I'm using that as my staple diet. You know, and
Yeah.
so like that was the only difference. Like I was eating meat and veggies, but now you're trying to tell me all I can do is live off of veggies. Bet. So I was like, let me try it out. It can't hurt. Like if I get sick, I die. Like I've never seen anyone die from eating too many vegetables. So I was like,
Yeah.
worst case scenario, I could always go back to eating meat. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like a big deal. I was just like, I could try it out. I was very open minded. But I went pescatarian because I knew with the seafood, if I need protein, that could be like the protein I could get. And then I just ate more plant-based foods. From that, just from that transition alone, being pescatarian, within like a few months, I lost a lot of body fat, my skin got clearer, better mental clarity, energy levels were better, and I was like super stoked about it. Now, granted, like now being a nutritionist, because I wasn't a nutritionist back then, obviously I just put myself in a calorie deficit by default because I'm taking away a lot of the, excuse me, calorically dense foods out of my diet and just replacing it with foods that's more lower in calories. Because if you kind of think about plant-based foods, single ingredient foods, like they're all low in calories, they're more nutrient dense, high in fiber, so you stay full a little bit. You don't need to eat so much to
Yeah.
feel full. You know what I mean?
I mean,
So
so that
yeah,
sorry to interrupt,
no, no, no.
but so that is true. Generally, animal foods are more calorie dense.
Mhm.
However, animal foods are also a more efficient source of protein because plant-based proteins also have carbs too. So it's especially harder when you're cutting to get your protein from plants because you're going to be consuming extra carbs. Whereas when you're on an animal-based diet, you can eat something that's like chicken breast or egg whites. That's almost purely protein and no carbs, little fat. So I feel like it is true that generally vegans tend to weigh less than meat eaters. However, I think that if you're a bodybuilder or you're just trying to uh, lose fat while still building muscle, I think it's easier to do that on an animal-based diet.
I mean, I was just eating more vegetables. Like I wouldn't have like like too much rice and beans. It was just like eating way more veggies, like more veggies. I still have rice and grains and stuff like that, but I would have a lot more veggies. Now, when it comes down to the protein stuff, and that I can answer is when once I found out where I could get more high protein sources, that's when I started letting go of the seafood because I started finding because it took time for me to learn. Like 2011, 2012, like Google wasn't at its best, you know. Like when it
Yeah,
came down to looking for information and stuff, you only use Google if you're writing a research paper. That's like that's how it was back then.
yeah,
It wasn't like now, like, oh, the AI is going to pull up all
yeah.
these.
Now we got Chat GPT to
Yeah,
do
you got
research for
Chat
you.
GPT, all this stuff. Like, nah, it wasn't like that back then. Not even close. Like, people barely use the internet because it was so slow, anyways. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like, so it was like that's how it was. So to find out information, it was a lot about word of mouth, going on forums. Like big forums, Facebook groups, which was like very big at the time. During that time in 2011, 2012, because Facebook groups were like the new forms. So that's when I started learning about more like high protein foods. People were like, yeah, You can get protein from tofu. You can get it from tempeh, seitan. So I started looking into those products, and being whole foods plant based was the only way to be vegan. You couldn't be vegan with all the processed stuff that's out now. Like they have like all these alternative meats and all that stuff.
Yeah, like
None
Beyond
of
Meat.
that existed. None of it existed. It was only tofu, tempeh, and seitan. Those were the three staples. That's it. Everything else you have to get from plant-based foods. So I learned the old school way, and that's why for me it's easy to be whole foods plant-based because I learned it the right way. I don't have those issues. A lot of people who has issues, they learn it from eating processed junk food. They're going from one junk food to
Yeah.
another, thinking it's healthy. You know what I mean? So that's what happened to me. And then once I started learning that, then I went vegan, 100% vegan. And then for 1 year, I stayed in that lifestyle. I started to put on muscle because I went from 225 and I lost a lot of weight. I went all the way down to 165. Just to like tell you, like I wasn't even getting a lot of protein either, but like my strength felt good. I felt healthy. Like I was fine. I really didn't care too much about the weight. As long as I was like ripped, I was just like, hey, I got a six pack. I feel good. My energy levels are great. I still lift the same. Cool. But then once I started learning about getting more protein, then I slowly started putting on weight again. And then after 1 year being vegan, that's when I decided to go into bodybuilding. Now, during this period of my life, this is when I was already doing personal training. I was doing personal training as a part-time job. I changed my major into criminal justice to exercise science and physiology. Became a nutritionist, started learning more about counting macros. Really started educating myself around the premise of health and fitness and nutrition. Especially plant-based nutrition, because everything I was learning from as a nutritionist, I was applying a lot of that knowledge into real-time practical base to bodybuilding and actually getting results in my own practice, not just the sport, but also clients I was coaching as well. And from there, that's when I started putting on a lot of muscle, you know, because I started learning about protein sources and getting a proper amount of calories and fuel to really get real results versus back in the days, it was a lot of bro science, just the things that
Yeah.
we from like Men's Health magazines or your favorite bodybuilder. Like Ronnie Coleman was the big one back then, like so reading like muscular development or bodybuilding magazines and stuff. Oh yeah, Ronnie Coleman just eats just chicken breasts. You just follow the people. You're like, yo, he eats how much?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna eat half of that and maybe add some egg whites, like lean proteins, do some fish. Cause even red meat back then, it when I was like eating and stuff like that, even red meat wasn't really that popular, especially in the bodybuilding world. More just chicken breasts, lean meats like chicken breast, fish like tilapia, salmon, egg whites. That was the top four. They would say like red meats maybe have like once or twice a week, and pork minimum maybe one time a week or maybe none at all. Like that's how it was back then. You know,
Yeah.
um, so I always followed that type of regimen when I was eating meat. But once I went plant based, then it just changed. And then from once I started doing bodybuilding, then I started gaining weight again, and then I started putting on muscle and learning about calorie deficits, caloric surpluses, carb cycling, reverse dieting, all these things. And that's pretty much it. But that's pretty much my story when it comes down to going vegan.
Cool. So I heard you mention something about the health benefits of going vegan when you were talking about how in the college class when someone was speaking, he was talking about the health.
Yeah.
So, what health benefits do you believe that a vegan diet has?
Well, I like to say more like a whole foods plant based diet, not vegan, because the the vegan when we use words like vegans, vegan is very broad, right? And in the vegan community, it means many different things. Like for example, some people might say vegan means for ethical stance, for animal rights or animal welfare. You know what I'm saying? or someone's
Yeah.
going vegan for diet, but they could be a junk food. Like Oreos are vegan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you're eating a bunch of Oreos and you're vegan, is that healthy? Hell no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like a lot of food companies will put vegan on the label to make it look like it's healthy. They'll use all these like flashy terms like plant-based or vegan or gluten-free. They use these like bullshit terms to make the product look like it's healthy.
Well, that's just marketing. It has nothing to
Yeah.
do with like vegan companies or anything. That's just marketing. Like I lived on this world for 40 years. I'm 40 years old. So nothing has changed when it comes to marketing one-on-one.
Yeah.
So, for example, back in the 90s, gluten-free was a buzzword because they demonized gluten, right? Before
Yeah.
Instagram, there was the news. And so like everyone would just watch it. And when something pops up on the news, like even eggs, you know how many times eggs were bad or good or bad?
Yeah. Recently, the FDA labeled eggs as healthy food.
Yeah, but now it's considered bad. I'm telling you, man, like I lived this very long, man. It's always back and forth. Like,
Yeah.
and the same thing when it comes down to gluten. Like gluten was demonized. It was like everything was gluten free back in the 90s. And then what happened when they talked about gluten, they demonized it, and then they said, oh, it caused bloating, caused X, Y, and Z, this and that, blah blah blah. You couldn't really look it up, couldn't really do any research. There's no internet. And then people and with marketing companies, any food product, they started plastering gluten free on everything. Like they even put it on chicken, like gluten free chicken.
Oh wow.
That's how demonized it was and how big that buzzword was, you know. And it was like it got and think how silly that is. Like gluten free chicken. Why would you put gluten free on chicken? It's a poultry.
Yeah.
like, like no shit, right? But that's how big it was, and you have to kind of
I'm
think
guessing.
the time. You know, the time you can't look up this stuff. You can't go online and start typing like, "Oh, what's gluten free? What does it mean?" You can't. Only thing you had was Webster Dictionary, and it was a
Yeah.
book. It was a book. It like you had to get the book. You know, like you couldn't look this stuff up. So this is why when it comes to these words, it's not just vegan companies, it's just companies, it's business. You know what I'm saying? It's marketing. So going back to the original answer, when it comes to vegan, that's why I always say a whole foods plant-based diet. Now, if you want to be healthy on a whole foods plant-based diet, this is different because whole food plant-based is what it means. You're getting single ingredient foods. So this is real foods like carrots, kale, spinach, beans, grains, lentils, legumes, nuts, seeds, potatoes. These are the foods that's healthy. And I believe in something called the hypernourishment protocol, which is from Dr. Brooke Goldner. Dr. Brooke Goldner, which is an underrated doctor, she wrote a book called Goodbye Autoimmune Disease. She was able to reverse and remission her lupus on a whole foods plant-based diet.
Or what?
She had lupus, an autoimmune disease. So she was able to put it into remission on a whole food plant-based diet. And she does a hypernourishment protocol, which is a 6-week protocol that she does. And she was able to help reverse other people with autoimmune disease and disorders with the same protocol. And hypernourishment means that you're getting more than enough dietary fiber to help put these diseases into remission. So by learning from her tactics, I took that and implemented it into the program, because the only difference between her and myself is that hers is a medical practice that she's doing. So she does like smoothies, a lot of mostly raw food. Versus with me, I'm doing a mixture of just like regular food, like raw and cooked foods. And since I use my Fitness Pal and I track everything, I'm making sure from a scientific and a measurable standpoint that everything's being hypernourished. So that's where we get the vitamins and minerals, and this is unarguable because when it comes to if I'm tracking them, and I'm recording all the vitamins and minerals that we're getting through a whole foods plant-based diet, then if someone wants to be healthy, they are, because we're tracking everything and we're combining the types of foods to make sure that the meals that they're creating are all balanced to be able to get those numbers to hypernourishment. So this is something that's why it is healthy. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not. I'm not just sitting there just saying like, yeah, vegan is healthy. Go vegan for animals. No, I'm making sure we're putting in the science. Now on social media, it's a little bit different, just because you're on social media too. We only got like 60, 90 seconds to say something. To put out.
Yeah.
And some certain messages that we put out when it comes to headlines, hooks, engagement, certain things will only get somebody's attention. But like podcasts and things like this is where, or when I do talks, this is where I really go deeper into the knowledge, because people who's going to listen to long form type of format, it's people who really want to learn. Short form is for entertainment. You're not going to learn shit in 60 to 90 seconds, but in 1 hour you can learn a lot. Just like
I mean, you can.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, usually people will make podcasts and post the shorts on Instagram Reels with like the parkour on the bottom to keep people's attention.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyways, you mentioned autoimmune conditions. So I've seen many doctors online claim that the carnivore diet can help to reverse autoimmune conditions because they'll argue that vegetables contain plant defense chemicals, so that by avoiding these plant defense chemicals or anti-nutrients, you can help to reverse autoimmune conditions. So, are you familiar with that concept?
Yeah, very familiar. But when it comes to this, they're fairly right to a certain extent. So when it comes to certain autoimmune diseases, but it's an elimination diet using carnivore diet.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the same thing with the keto diet. Like keto diet has many studies as well when it comes down to reversing autoimmune diseases and disorders. And I even done videos on it. They haven't posted it yet, but I've done it where they talked about epilepsy. It's not autoimmune disease, but they talked about like epilepsy, for example, which there's a study on, which is true. Like the people that had epilepsy, they were able to reduce their episodes by a lot, and they were healthy on a keto diet, except there was a small side effect. And this is something that does get a little misconstrued online or just left out, because again, social media is about plurality. People like this stuff. So when it comes down to the actual study, it actually stated that some of the side effects was a lot of people would get a kidney stone. So it's like a catch-22. So when it comes to the carnivore diet, and when it comes to autoimmune diseases, it's like, yeah, I'm not saying that I don't not reverse certain diseases, especially if you're eliminating a lot of stuff, because you have to kind of think. And I even say this even with vegan doctors. There's a lot of vegan literature and vegan doctors that say certain things that I don't agree with, right? But you have to understand that when it comes to a medical doctor, they're dealing with very ill people, and these individuals have very bad lifestyle habits. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like an athlete who's walking in there perfectly healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to go carnivore, let's do it. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
People with very bad habits, very bad lifestyle habits, they already have these diseases and they're sick. So by eliminating a lot of trash foods, first we have to look at the source. Are we asking the right questions? Like, what was they eating? They weren't on the vegan diet. They're on the SAD diet, which is the standard American diet. Processed foods, chips, fast foods, that's the diet they were on. And then you putting them on more meats, like grass-fed, pasteurized, and just having them just consume mostly that and some healthy fats. Of course, they're going to see significant results from eating chips, sodas, and fast food, of course, but could there be an overconsumption? Can someone abuse something? Yeah, because you have to remember, like, when it comes to being on an animal-based diet, there is a lot of it is high in cholesterol, certain foods are, and then also saturated fat. Now, this is the only part that I would disagree, and this is where it was like, if you have an overconsumption of it, you can still eat it and be healthy, because even when it comes to cholesterol levels, cholesterol in meat, there's a certain amount you should be eating to keep your cholesterol levels in optimal ranges. There's many people that live a very long life eating meat. And I even say this to other vegans. When vegans ask me, like, yeah, being plant based is the best diet to live on, I'm like, it's not. There's no studies that actually prove that. We only have the Blue Zone study that proves that. And what it says in the Blue Zone study was that 90 to 95% of the individuals that's in the study for longevity purposes was mostly plant based. Mostly, big keyword, mostly. And the percentage, 90 to 95%. So that means that when it came to their overall diet, they had meat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was just that they were eating more plant-based foods with the meat.
So it's like a flexitarian diet.
Yeah, well, you call whatever you want.
Yeah.
Flexitarian, Mediterranean, like it kind of goes down in multiple levels. Because the Blue Zone study is a worldwide study. So, people in Italy, is it called flexitarian or more Mediterranean?
Yeah.
And then you have Loma Linda, California. That's more vegetarian and vegan diet. That's more plant based, because Loma Linda, if you know that place, it's mostly filled with Seventh-day Adventists, and they usually follow a vegetarian or vegan lifestyle, which is revolves around a whole foods plant based lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be something that's more vegan vegetarian. Then you have Okinawa, Japan, what we call that type of. Yeah. Like, so it's going to be different depending on the location, customs, culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's just how it is. But that's my only argument with the carnivore diet, is really just the saturating cholesterol levels. It's like, you're taking people. I understand if it's underneath medical supervision, I think that will be fine. But having people go online and just doing stuff like on their own with bad habits already in place, it's easy to overconsume and get too much cholesterol where your cholesterol is skyrocketing. And then to ignore and say, like, well, ignore your LDL levels, like it doesn't matter. I think that's a very wrong message to push. Because that goes against all medical literature.
So I would like to comment on that. So historically, doctors have framed having high cholesterol as bad, but now there's new research that challenges that traditional narrative. So first of all, dietary cholesterol actually does not significantly affect LDL levels in most people. Now, there are some people that are hyper responders. So about 25% of people might have their blood cholesterol increase by consuming dietary cholesterol. But for most people, that's not the case, because your liver already produces a lot of cholesterol naturally. So when you get cholesterol in your diet, your liver will compensate by producing less cholesterol. And then, uh, additionally, saturated fat has been viewed as bad for many decades. However, there was actually never any conclusive evidence that was the case. It's mostly observational research that shows a correlation and not causation. So this initially started with the Dr. Ansel Keys in the 1950s that did the 7 country study, and he found that in certain countries there was a correlation between high saturated fat consumption and rates of heart disease. However, the study had some problems. One of them was that it was very cherry picked, and there was some other countries that were excluded. Like, for example, France has very high rates of saturated fat consumption, but they actually have low rates of heart disease, and France was excluded from the study. So the study done by Ansel Keys was very biased, and this is kind of getting a little conspiratorial, but it also what happened was the food industry paid off scientists to claim that fat was causing heart disease as opposed to sugar and refined carbs, because the food industry wants to add sugar to foods to make it more addictive and then also make it taste better too. So they didn't want the American public to believe that sugar and refined carbs were really the culprit behind heart disease. They wanted to blame it on something else. So they essentially they paid scientists to say that saturated fat was causing heart disease. And then ever since that, rates of heart disease, ever since doctors have been recommending to lower saturated fat consumption, rates of heart disease and obesity have actually increased. Now, I know that correlation doesn't always mean causation. There could be other reasons too behind this, but I think one of the reasons why is because when people are told to consume less saturated fat, they'll end up replacing it with something else instead. So oftentimes what will happen is people are told, okay, reduce your red meat consumption, reduce your saturated fat consumption, and they end up eating more refined carbs and foods that are high in sugar. So like instead of eating steak and eggs for breakfast, they might eat sugary cereal for breakfast. And then replacing saturated fat with refined carbs can actually increase your risk for heart disease. Now, it is true that saturated fat will increase your cholesterol. However, even then, that's not inherently bad for a few reasons. So, number one is saturated fat increases both the LDL and the HDL cholesterol. And the HDL is considered to be the good cholesterol, the LDL is considered to be the bad cholesterol. But even then, it's a little bit more nuanced because there's research showing that not all LDL is the same. So there's two sizes for LDL particles. There's the large particles and the small particles. So it's primarily the small particles that cause atherosclerosis, which is plaque building up in your blood vessels, which is the main culprit for heart disease. And then there's also many other factors that contribute to heart disease too, like your triglycerides, your HDL to LDL ratio, your insulin resistance and metabolic health, your inflammation. There's many different factors that contribute to heart disease. So the problem is that some doctors will look at a patient's LDL in isolation and say that they're at high risk for heart disease and put them on a statin without even looking at their insulin resistance or their inflammation or taking their triglycerides into consideration. So I think this narrative that saturated fat and cholesterol causes heart disease is pretty nuanced, and even now, there's actually new research showing no link between saturated fat and heart disease, despite what the American Heart Association recommends. So, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts is according to like the World Health Organization, about the 4.4 million people that actually die from high cholesterol, from cholesterol, hypercholesterolemia,
Yeah,
cholesterol each year, which represents about 7.8% of cardiovascular deaths. So when it comes down to that, um, explain that to those family members and see their reactions. That's what I would say. I don't. When people come to me about studies and trying to promote something about the cholesterol and conspiracies and they got paid and all this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, this is when I always go back to the blue zone studies, and I always say like, well, if you're looking at what the longest living people on Earth is actually consuming, they're not consuming high meat consumption. So if you want to go ahead and roll the dice to try to consume something that has, doctors conspiring on each other and their studies, counter studies going back and forth, versus just following people that actually lives a particular lifestyle, things that's more practical that you can visually see, then I would rather go down that direction. And it's one of the reasons why I like even plant based myself, because it's like, we can go back and forth and go study a study on meat. But I always say, where's the studies when it comes down to plants? I haven't seen,
yeah.
you're not going to see any correlation with 4.4 million people died from high cholesterol or had heart disease from an apple. You're not going to see people who has like, I got cancer because I was eating too much kale. So
So when it comes to,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but when it comes to kale or some leafy greens like spinach, some people can actually get kidney stones from the high levels of oxalates in them. Now, for most people, leafy greens should be fine. Like I'm not saying it's bad, but when you consume it in very high amounts, especially if it's raw, you're getting a lot of plant defense chemicals. So cooking can reduce the plant defense chemicals, but I mean, I think anything in high amounts can be harmful. And then back to what you're saying about the longest living people not eating meat, I think that might be true, uh, but it's mostly correlation and not causation. So I will say that there is research showing that vegans tend to be healthier than meat eaters. I will admit that, but it's mostly correlation and not causation. So one of the reasons why is because vegans tend to eat more fruits and vegetables, and eating more fruits and vegetables can have health benefits. So it could be possible that vegans are healthier than meat eaters, not because meat is bad, but because vegans are getting more nutritional value from the fruits and vegetables. And also, vegans tend to be more health conscious people. So, generally, vegans are less likely to smoke and they're more likely to exercise, which can also influence the outcomes in these studies
So
as well.
so what's the argument again?
So, I'm saying that yes, vegans might be healthier than meat eaters, but it's mostly correlation and not causation.
I would, like I said before, when it comes down to oxalates and eating plant-based foods, like you mentioned, like high consumptions, yes, but it's not as many people. When we're comparing the apples and oranges, we're not going to find as many people getting kidney stones, and people aren't dying from the kidney stones from spinach directly. If you're looking at kidney stones, it's more likely individuals that already has underlying health issue, and it's going to be with their diet. It's not more on people that's on a plant-based diet who are eating high amounts, because I eat high amounts. I eat I eat about
Do you cook it?
I eat about 84 about like 84 grams of spinach per day. Sometimes even more. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, never had an itch. My blood work is awful. And when it comes down to the meat, I mean, like I said, you could do the correlation to causation, try to convince people with that, but I always say ask the right questions about the plant-based foods. How many lives are being taken away from plant-based? It's not that many. You know what I'm saying? It's really nothing. It's zero. Yeah, and if anyone brings up, like, for example, any type of extremist that like starved their baby or someone died, these were more on eating
Yeah.
disorders, and those are monopolies. Like you can't paint that on anybody. You know what I'm saying? Because there's monopolies.
Yeah.
There's extremist Christians, and like even religions, like Christians, Hindus, whatever. There's
Are you
extreme.
religious?
I'm Buddhist, so like
Okay.
there's a lot of extremes everywhere. But when it comes down to the red meats and animal byproducts, that's my stance. And like I always say, like, I follow more on blue zone studies, and I focus more on that in life. I'm not focused on trying to find a middle ground and trying to find that gray area of eating. So when I have clients that actually come to me who wants to work with me, I mostly tell them that we're going to do more something called a plant forward diet, which is if you're going to consume animal intake, we want to minimize that as much as possible, and then be able to nourish your body through plant-based foods. And that's how I usually do it. So I'm not in the fight or the argument when it comes down to trying to find that middle ground, because I've already given up on it. And knowing with me and thousands of clients that I've taught, no one has came back with negative blood scores. And this is something that I've shown online all the time. I show my blood work online all the time. And I'm gonna follow what's practiced in the hospitals today, not what people are saying online and about the new studies. There's going to be studies everywhere, But until the studies aren't taken seriously, until it's put into practice into the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're going to go off of your doctor's orders, you're rolling the dice. You know what I'm saying? You're rolling the dice. And that's your primary care. That you're saying no to your primary care off of influencers and things you see online over people who've been in school for over 10 years, who's taking care of your health. Go ahead and do it. Even when people even when if I have someone who's sick and they're training with me and they go, because we have vegans who like, I want to get off all my medications. I have clients who tell me, I want to get off all my medications. I want to work with you. I want to go 100% whole foods plant based. I don't tell them, yeah, the plants is going to heal you. You're going to get all the vitamins and minerals you need. So get off the medications. No, because if that person gets ill or die underneath my care, I'm a professional. This like what I do is a profession. It's not Instagram, get likes. People pay me a lot of money to work with, lots of money. So I run a business. This is a profession. I really take people's life in personal care. So I have to do everything professional. It doesn't matter what I think or what I say or whatever crap I say online. I have to take it as a professional. They are a client because I'm dealing with their lives. And when it comes down to these type of things, I tell them, you need to talk to your doctor and let them run your labs and see how they can get you off the medications if so. If not, you have to stay on the medications. Do not reduce the medications unless it's underneath the doctor's order. I'm a sport nutritionist, and the doctor will always override my words if they're underneath my program. And that's how it works. That's the reality. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality when you're working with someone. So that's my main focus. So we could sit here and, wrap off studies, but because I could sit here and just Google and read off shit myself.
Yeah.
But like the problem is that I don't like doing that because I like doing things that's practical and I know what I'm doing for people. You know what I'm saying? And I take that very seriously. Like I'm 40 years old. I got a business, got a wife, I got, people I need help. I'm trying to save lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So until those studies actually comes into actual medical practice, that's when I'm more open to listen and be like, all right, yeah, you want to have 5 pounds of steak every day and have your cholesterol at 200, 250, your LDL at 250, and that's cool. Okay. Only when that's actually approved through the medical board. But until it's not approved, I'm not down with it. Because like I said before, 4.4 million people, according to the World Health Organization, has died from heart-related cardiovascular disease. Try explaining that to those families. And if you see the families as well, and this is something that I always do in my talks, when I do my live presentations, I always say, how many people has heart disease in their family? Everyone raise their hand. How many people has cancer in their family? Raise your hand. A lot of people raise. How many people have dementia in their family? Everyone raise their hand. How many people have Alzheimer's in their family? Everyone raise their hand. Now, we always say things is always genetics and stuff like that. So you're saying everyone in this room has bad genetics? Let's kind of think about it. How many people are actually plant-based? How many people are still dealing with some of these issues? Raise your hand. A lot of no hands raised up. How many people are in the family still eating red meat? Eating the same foods that your grandma made, your great-grandma, what kids. See what I'm saying? That's what we need to focus on. It's like, look what everyone who's ill, what are they eating? What are they eating in your family? Look back in that. You don't need no study. You don't have to look in Google for that. Just go through your family and ask every single person what they eat. And you notice it's the same shit. It's all the same shit. So that's why I went plant-based because no one in my family was plant-based. Only person that was vegetarian was my great grandma, who lived all the way up till she was 98. And listen to this. Sadly to say, her disease, she got Alzheimer's, and the disease accelerated because they started incorporating meat into her diet. They were giving her, and it wasn't just regular meat, it was processed crap. And it was sad to watch that. Because
So
like, it is so sad.
sorry to hear. So I will say I do think that eating processed meat can be harmful because it has a lot of preservatives and nitrates, stuff like that. But I think there is a distinction between eating unprocessed meat, especially grass-fed meat, and processed meat. So in a lot of these studies where they compare vegans to meat eaters, they combine people who eat processed meat and unprocessed meat into the same category, which I think influences some of these results.
What studies?
Because what was that?
What studies? What studies are you talking about that they have unprocessed meats versus processed meats? Like you're talking about?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but um, I do agree that eating processed meat can be harmful. Yeah. Anyways, I saw that you know Brandon Carter.
Yeah. Mhm.
I saw him one of his videos. He was talking about how you guys like to compete with how many calories you burn per day.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's just boy men things, like it's just like,
Yeah,
it's not like we're like competing super competitive. It's really just keeping it's like we're all high performers, you know what I'm saying? So it's really just keeping us in check. You know what I'm saying? It's like something that it helps push each other. But it's not in a way where it's like, oh, you're keto, I'm vegan, I'm vegan. I never look at it that way. He has his lifestyle. He's my business mentor. He's the one that actually helped me, make my first six figures in my business. So I have nothing but respect for Brandon Clark. When it comes to his dietary preferences, yeah, I mean, I don't agree with it, but it doesn't change who he is as a man. Like he's a very intelligent person with a fine mind, and he knows his stuff. You know what I mean? The only
yeah.
But one thing he did tell me, he's like, "Hey, I'll be honest with you." He's like, "I know you're vegan, you love the animals and all that stuff, but he's like, if this keto thing doesn't work, I'm going back to you." And that's what he said. And I was like, no doubt, I hear you, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people are just here to help, you know some people, I feel there's some influencers out there that's there just for fame and get attention and get a quick buck. And there's many, and again, many people like that. You came and go. Like the guy who invented Atkins, that was one. You know,
Yeah,
diet had a good buzz.
like a fad diet.
Yeah, it was just like me. It was saying it was, I would say like, keto and carnivore, all the stuff. It's very similar to the Atkins. It's just like it's better. It's like it's like a newer version, like 2.0, 3.0. And that's fine. If people could try to fix something that's broken, go ahead. But for me, I'm just like, yeah, there's people out there who's really going to try to help others, and like I know like Brian Carr is one of them. Like he's not a guy who's just shitting on different diets and stuff. He talks about what really works for him, and he has transformed thousands of people himself, through his diet, through his protocols. You know what I'm saying? And there's certain people that's out there that's really there to help. And that's it. When it comes, and I'm one of them myself. Like I'm not here to demonize people and stuff like that. If I talk about animals, that's a real part of me. There's different layers of Korin Sutton. You know what I'm saying? There's different layers, and I see things a particular way. But I'm not here to lead people astray. So that's why when I make content and I talk about things, I'm talking for the benefit of the individual, not just to shame them. And that's why even within my own business, I train people. Like, I mean, obviously a lot of, like, I would say 98% of my customers are plant based, but that 2% who's animal based, they're I don't excuse them out of my business. I don't say like you can't work with them. And that's because my priority as a nutritionist is to help people with their health. And that's where I won't, sit there and hate someone, like to hate someone because of their dietary preference. It's just pure prejudice. That's
Yeah.
always coming from a place of hate. You know, can I disagree? Can I poke the bear a little bit? Yeah, I could do that. That's all part of social media. But to hate, no. You know what I'm saying? Like the only time we like dislike someone or just like even hate them is if I met the person and I know their true intentions and they're just like if I met the person in real life, I found out that what their true intentions are and it's just pure evil, that's when I would hate that person. I'd be like, yo, like this person is not here for the right reasons. They're really here to really spew misinformation and mislead people into a place where if whatever happens to them, they don't care. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel
Yeah.
certain people online, like certain people, I dislike them. I don't hate them. I just dislike them and just totally disagree. It's just because they don't even have the credentials to be talking about this stuff. And they're only allowed to talk about it because they live in this beautiful country of the United States of America. Because there's other countries, you already got shut down, got sued.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can't talk about nutrition unless you have credentials. You can't even say it. This is one of the only countries where people can get away with things. You know what I'm saying? But in other countries, like in Brazil, you can't do that. You can't talk. And this is Brazil. You can't talk about nutrition without no credentials. You have to have a degree. You can't even train somebody. You can't even touch a person in a training facility. Nothing without credentials. You know what I'm saying? So it says a lot how certain countries regulate certain things, and that's where I get upset because I'm like, I work my butt off. I spent my money. I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to really help people, but to see like someone who's just like just like internet nerd and just
Yeah.
just gonna rap off stuff and just try to help people and that's some of the content I make fun of. Like I'll make reactions of. It's
Yeah, I see you reacting to other people's videos.
Yeah, because those are the ones that's like it's lacking credentials. They don't have any proof. They don't show no type of testimonials. They don't show no blood work. It's just like they're just going off a rant. Like hey, this is what I did. And a lot of anecdotal evidence, really. Which is sad because you're playing with people's lives, and that's where I'm like, that's where I question. I'm like, do you truly care about other people's lives, or are you just there for the attention and for the quick buck? Because I don't see it. I don't see a company. I don't see you, doing anything professional. I don't see you
Yeah.
really showing off medical literature or medical blood work. How you really help, like people with your stories, explain how you really impact their lives. I just see a bunch of nonsense, and that's what we have to really think about. Is the people.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like social media has definitely made it easy to spread misinformation. You have a lot of people online who don't know what they're talking about. I've seen a lot of these testosterone coaches online that sell coaching on how to boost your testosterone, and I feel like a lot of what they say is bullshit. I don't know if they're doing it intentionally or if they're uh, misled.
I mean, I don't know because like when it comes to that field, I'm oblivious because I'm natty. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I just know like when it comes down to that stuff, like HRT, like the only thing I could talk about really is like the medical stuff, like HRT, like hormone replacement therapy. Um, when it comes down to stuff like that, I feel that I know certain places does license or certify people around the compounds. Uh, because like I was even trying to look into it myself, to be honest, because I was like, like, even though I'm mad at it, I would like to learn about the compounds because I really don't know anything about them. So when it came down to it, I was like, I would really like to learn because I have clients who takes HRT and for medical purposes, not just for as a performance enhancing drug. And I would like to know more about it because I like fitness. I like health. This is like my jam. I really
Yeah.
all this stuff. I'm really big in it. But when it comes down to those type of coaches, I've been in the bodybuilding world for a long time, so I understand why they're doing it, and it's because in the bodybuilding world, a lot of the is really from word of mouth, like from champion, from next champion, from one coach to the next coach, what worked, what didn't work. A lot of trial and error over years of time. You know what I'm saying? Now we're in the age where HRT and some of these compounds are legalized, so people could really get more like studies. There's more blood work. It's more open to talk about it. So people are collecting more data on human trials, right? Because I always say like you want to know how everything's being tested these days that's getting legalized. It's us. So it's like that's going to be it. We'll see what happens in 50 years with all this stuff being legalized, marijuana, PDs, like all this stuff being legalized. We'll see in 50 years to 100 years what happens to all of us. And then we know like it's really good for us because that's how scientific studies are. Like that's why I would say like, yeah, we could wrap off studies all day, but it's more about the longevity of the studies. That's what makes it true. It's like it's not just like a 12-week cycle or 16 1-year study. You need years of that.
Yeah.
If you did keto, that's why I like keto, keto, animal based, carnivore. Like these things don't have empirical. It's not. There's no time. There's no time. It's all short things and very minimal data. And you're going off of that versus years of medical studies and literature that says, that's why I'm like, it's a hard argument. And that's why I'm like, I'm not going to go with, I'm not on the side of new stuff. I'm on the side of old data. And if you see me, there's no data, there's little data on overconsumption. A lot of data saying it's good. Yeah, versus bad. I haven't seen someone die from that or die from eating too much spinach. Just side effects, right? Like you said, the oxalates. And this is like people who are very sensitive, but that percentage is very minuscule compared to the deaths of heart disease. You know what I'm saying? Like we're comparing like, wait, two big different numbers. You know what I'm saying? Like kidney stones with heart disease? Like kidney stones you can get fixed. Heart disease is going to be pretty tough, Like it's pretty tough.
I mean, so to respond to your point, I will say that humans have been eating red meat for millions of years in combination with plants too. And then there are some societies like the Inuits in Alaska that ate a diet that was primarily meat, and they thrived. So I think throughout most of human history, before we got junk food and processed food, humans were eating a mostly ketogenic diet, or at least a diet high in red meat. And then heart disease has primarily increased in the past few decades as processed food became more common. People aren't exercising as much. People are becoming more obese. People aren't getting enough sleep. I mean, there's many factors that contribute into it.
It's a lot of factors.
But yeah,
there's a lot of factors. Because what we have to understand is that we could use the caveman fallacy, ancestor fallacies, right? But the problem about these fallacies is that we're not them. That's the problem. Like Alaskans, people who's out there hunting for food because that's their survival mechanism. They're doing it for survival. Is completely different from a dude who goes to an office job, drives a motor vehicle, and then sit at home and eat food. And then they
different lifestyle.
They shop at Whole Foods. You know what I'm saying? Like completely different. It's like me saying like, I eat meat because lions eat meat. I used to say that dumb shit, right? But the problem about that is that I never seen a lion who's eating raw meat get heart disease. Like this is the things that we're not really paying attention to here. Like there's no study that correlates to a lion's diet who's getting heart disease. See what I'm saying? Like this is just some of the things I look at. Like this is how my brain works. I don't look at things very black and white and just get fed information. I just ask the questions that's not being asked. And I kind of look around. Like, all right.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
How many lions actually got cancer? Colon cancer. Let's check it out. None? How many lions got heart disease? None? And they're eating everything. Like they're not going Whole Foods eating clean meat. They're eating that shit straight out the hide. They say like literally, like it doesn't get any realer than that. You know what I'm saying? Right off the hind. So you know what I'm saying? So when it comes down to these comparisons, that's why I would say like we're not down. Because the ancestors, I would agree one thing, the ancestors were definitely more physically more powerful than us. If we're talking about like a more natural sense, I even think on a PV level, like their ancestors were probably stronger because they lived in the wild. You had to hunt, you had to do everything yourself. Like everything was very active. You had to be very strong to live outside. And I've been in the military, so I lived outside for many, many months. Like I've done a lot of camp. That's why when people ask me about camping, I'm like, I'm not down with it because I used to do it. I used to get paid to do that stuff, in the worst conditions. So I'm fine. I like being in Miami, in my office, and my nice little home here. Like I like sleeping on my nice little comfortable bed, controllable AC unit. Like I'm good. I've already did that in my early in my late teens, in my 20s, I did that stuff. Man, it's hard. It's tough living out there. It's not easy. This is coming from a Marine, so it's like I'm telling you, it's not for everybody. It's tough when you're living outside. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. It's like we're taking this information and we're kind of applying it to the majority of mass people that don't live to a particular standard. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I look at things. It's like that. Like if someone who's like, like if we're losing Liver King, how many people look like him?
I mean, he was on PEDs.
It doesn't matter. But how many people look like him and can do the things he does? It's not a lot. It's barely 1%. Majority of the world is still 70 to 80%. The majority of Americans is still 70 to 80% overweight or obese. So I would say we need to find a diet and lifestyle that fits these individuals so they can be healthy. Because I'm a trainer. You know how hard it is just to get someone to get off the couch and start putting the right foods in their mouth? It's tough. It's not an easy job. That's why a lot of people don't do fitness. I've seen many fitness people even come and go. Because it's not as easy as it sounds. People like to watch things and pretend that that's where they are. It's like, I could even go on, and I'm going on a rant, but it's like, even when I have trolls, right, who talk crap about me, I look at their profile and they don't look like me. They look the opposite of me. Get it?
Exactly. I feel like you'll never find a hater that's doing better than you. Oftentimes, when you see these hate accounts that are commenting hateful stuff. I mean, I get it too. I get these bots commenting shit. Like you look at their account, they either look like a dork or it's no profile pic or it's like 50 followers.
Yeah.
You know, people love to hate because they're jealous of your success.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like so that's the problem. Like, you know, I always say like we need to find a lifestyle that's going to really help individuals to really optimize health. And that's why I go back saying like, you know, the reactions that I do is just like I think just certain stuff is just getting way blown out of proportion. And it's against all medical literature. So why even say it? Because I'm like, if you're a doctor, especially if you're a doctor too, and you're sitting there saying these things, it's like, man, like I hope like you're really helping more people, man. Because like to sit there to say some claims, and you know, I hope you understand what you're doing to them psychologically, to their lifestyle. Like, I hope you really understand, because if not, there's people getting hurt by this, you know. Um, and that's why I come up with the things I come up with, because I'm like, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to really help. I'm not trying to put people into like some place. And when it comes to my ethic posts and stuff, it's more like, you know, that's just me, you know, with my beliefs when it comes to animal welfare. Because I've already said my story, you know, and this is what I do. You know, so just as everyone else has their own belief. And I just feel that for them, you know, for animals. And, well, this is what they do. So, you don't think about that. And there's certain things you don't. Some things we don't. Because we don't want to change our lives. We don't want to change our lives. There's a lot of change that goes on. Change. Some people
Yeah.
don't like that. Some people like to be comfortable. Some people like it's comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Which is understandable.
Yeah. Do you know Paul Saladino?
Yep. Yep. Very familiar.
So he's a doctor that promotes the animal-based diet. He used to be carnivore, but now
Yeah.
he eats a diet of meat, dairy, eggs, fruit, and honey.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on him?
My thoughts personally is that I think I think and I never met the guy, but like I feel that he's in it for good reasons. I mean, I think that he is the social media influencer as well. So I think some stuff he says is marketing. You know, like he has to. You know, I think when we call this like the red curtain, like certain things that most people don't really talk about. You know, but you know, I feel some of it is like that, but out of the stuff that he makes, like he does try to really educate people. Now, and there's things I agree with him. You know, I follow him myself. Like I've done reaction videos on him, the ones that I disagree. I never belittle him and say like, oh, he's an idiot. I never belittle anyone. You know, and if anyone saw anything belittling, like that's my copywriters. Yeah, I tell them like, hey, don't write that shit, because you know, like,
Yeah.
because I have copywriters. Yeah, sometimes they're writing that like this person's an idiot, and I'm like, don't use words like that, man. You know, that's my copywriter's fault. You know, but it's not coming from me. But when it comes to the video aspect, obviously it's me. So you'll never hear me like belittle or call someone stupid. I'll be like, yo, if I say anything, be like, if you're a liar. You know, like it's misinformation, you're a liar, I disagree, no, 100% false, you know, but never the person themselves. And with Paul Saladino, there out of all the things he does, I would say there's actually more like good things versus bad. And what we focus on more and what probably gets more of the attention is the bad stuff. But it's just how social media is. Because you like the receipt paper. Like, I think that's a little
Yeah.
crazy, right? Like it's a little crazy. Like BP, I know about BPA. You know what I'm saying? And I know about the water and plastic.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that. But saying like you as the customer grabbing the receipt paper, and then you know, and linking with the BPA, I think that's a little too much. Maybe if you're a cash register, okay, you know, maybe
Yeah, if it's like regular
yeah,
exposure,
yeah,
maybe.
like someone who's regularly dealing with that every single day. that I could see, I could be like, okay, got it. You know, if you're a cash register, yeah, you know, maybe you should wear some gloves or something. You know, I can have a little bit of open mind process on that. But as a shopper, no. You know, who's holding on to receipt paper that long, anyways? Like,
Yeah.
like that's not so. And it's just certain things, like. But I know, I just know marketing. I know social media too. So it's like, you know, yeah, that's going to get a lot of traction, get a lot of people talking, because that's how social media is. It's not about what's good and what's bad. It's about what's getting people talk, right? That's the honest.
Yeah, what gets attention?
Yeah. And but then to overlay it with like some good posts, yeah, you know, because why did he stop the carnivore diet? He said why, you know, he it wasn't working for him.
So he said he wanted to get carbs in his diet because he felt low energy.
He felt low energy, his libido was low. There was a lot of things that he said. So when it came down to it, like he started incorporating more plant-based foods into his diet. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense. You know what I mean? And he's, you know, he shows studies. There's certain things he does cherry pick. You know, I get it. You're trying to push your agenda. You know, I get it. Like you're trying to push your lifestyle. You want it to be correct. You know, but for you, me personally, I kind of feel like there's some weight to it, but some stuff that he's like when it comes to certain studies and stuff, like he does cherry pick it to try to make it right. He wants it to be right, you know. And
Yeah.
because I think because you could tell like he really pushed carnivore very hard. But when
I mean, obviously everyone has confirmation bias, so
yeah,
he's gonna want it to be right.
yeah, and it's like with me too. Like I've been
Yeah.
based for 13 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I would love to be vegan for a very long time. I want to do it forever if I can. You know, and I believe I can. You know, but I've also said like if something was wrong, and first I would do everything in my power to try to see if I could reverse it. But if I can't, then if I have to consume meat again, I just have to consume it. But but the type of person I am, and from all the information that I learned, it would be hard for me to go extreme end because it's like saying like, okay, if it didn't work, like okay, now I'm just gonna go carnivore. And this is some of the things I see with
Yeah.
like, you know, ex-vegans and stuff like that, which I think again, plurality gets attention, you know. I don't think some of the other guys were vegan because I'm like because I'm like, man, I've been in the vegan community for a long time. I never heard of you. It's not that big, you know. Like you know, like
Yeah.
you know, people get attention. You're like, it's not really that big, man. You know, like you run into someone somewhere in a vegan festival or you know some type of vegan event or something because there's a lot of little vegan things that be happening around the world. And I'm like, I've been to a lot of them, and I'm like, I never seen them, you know. So, but like when it comes down to something like that, I mean, if I would have to incorporate it, I would have to incorporate it. I mean, sadly to say, regardless, you know, I'm just real like that. But you know, when it comes down to you know other people, that's where I kind of disagree. I'm like, all right, well, I guess you were raw, like Paul Sanavino's story was like he went all raw vegan, and then after that, he wasn't working for him. But raw vegan, I feel like you need to really know what you're doing, you know, because that's a very extreme end of being on a plant-based diet. Because
Yeah.
you can't cook anything on that diet. You can only warm things up to a certain degree. I think it's like 100 degrees or something like that. I'm not very for sure. I'm not an expert in it, but you need to really know your stuff on raw diet. Like, and that's where I stop at. And I know about it. I have friends who could do it successfully, you know, but I disagree because it's a lot more you need to learn when it comes to that. Do I think it's one of the healthiest? I think so, you know, but I just know it's very difficult, and and you have to have a lot of time on your hands because unless you want to just be eating literally like plain food every day, you need to be very creative.
Yeah.
So to keep your mind going, like you really have to be freaking creative. Yeah, and that's why I stopped. Kind of like it doesn't fit my lifestyle. I'm too busy right now. Maybe I see myself when I'm like 80 years old or 90. I see myself wearing all white and freaking doing yoga at this time. And then I'm doing raw vegan stuff, and my eyebrows are white. And I'm like, yeah, spirit, to eat the power of the fruits. I'm talking very low.
Yeah.
That's where I see myself. But not at 40 years old when I'm trying to run a business and stuff like that. It's just, it doesn't work, you know. But going back to Paul, like, again, like, there's a lot of things I disagree, I think, but overall, I think he's in it for the right reasons.
Anyway, so what are your thoughts on lab grown meat as a vegan?
With lab grown, I think it's something that we should try out. I think we should try it out, experiment with it, see how it works. And the reason I say it is because when it comes to there's many benefits, but obviously there is some risk, right?
Yeah.
So there's a gray area about the whole.
I know Florida made it illegal.
They made it illegal there, yeah.
Yeah.
But in New York you can find it, but it's not popular right now. It's not like you can get it anywhere, so it's very hard to find. But I know someone who actually tried it and they actually liked it, but she didn't grow an eyeball in her forehead the next day. She was perfectly fine. But but the thing is, it's like but she had like a chicken, like a lab grown cell based chicken, and she said it tastes like the real deal. Now, from what I know from it, and because I haven't done any research on it, I'm not an expert in this field. I'm just going off of what I've heard. And one presentation I actually attended, which was at an Emma Rice conference around, man, I want to say this was around 2000, we're in 25. So maybe, I think it was before COVID. So I think it was like 2020, I'm saying around 2020. But 2020 or 2019, they were already talking about cell base. And they had a guy who came into the Emma Rice conference in Washington, D.C., who talked about cell-based products. A lot of stuff that I heard in that presentation that I was very interested in it was very positive. Like, they talked about the water source a lot less than factory farms. So when it comes down to the environment, it was a lot better. The size of the facilities were the size of an Amazon, pretty much like an Amazon shipping center, not like a factory farm where we need to, cut down a bunch of trees and use food and all stuff. So there was a lot of positive on the environmental impact, carbon footprint area. When it came down to the meat and how they explained it at the time, it could be different now, but they explained that when it comes to replicating the cells and making it more into like an actual flesh that's edible, you can manipulate, you can make it better than the original. And what I mean,
you can like customize the nutrient composition, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want chicken have like vitamin A in it, like it's gonna have vitamin A, So it's like you don't have to eat no liver. You can eat a chicken breast, and have your vitamin A right there. You can put vitamin C, vitamin D, like you can put all that stuff in that meat. So it's better. And I was like, damn. And I like sci-fi. I like technology. So for me, I'm like, yeah, man, this is like we're human beings. Like we can't always think about like the past and what like this is why I don't like this type of thinking, because I'm like, by doing that, we're devolving our species, our race. We're devolving. So why have a cell phone?
Yeah, exactly.
Have phones and all this stuff. Technology runs in everything, not just electrical device. It's everything. Food, machinery, tech, like it's evolution. We're supposed to evolve and be better. That's how we survive. So if we could find ways with food to make it better, that'd be great. Like I would even, they were at an animal rights convention of all things. Animal rights, man. This is like, you want to see extreme.
Oh, wow.
You're going to find it there. Like don't wear a carnivore shirt there. I'm telling you, I don't care how big you are. They will mess you up because these people are angry. They're angry. Even when I left, I was angry. I'm like, man, I told my wife, like, man, I just want to punch somebody in the face. Like, the energy there is heavy, man, because they go over some dark, some deep, like it's a lot of truth, but it's like it's such heavy truth. It's heavy truth, man. When you're just sitting there, it just it's so much, man. And you're hearing some of the stories these people talking about. It's crazy. But going back to the cell base, like they were talking about a lot of positive things. So that's why I was surprised that Florida didn't want it, but I kind of get it too.
Yeah.
But that's I don't want to go that area, but of the conversation. But I feel like it has its place, and I feel it should have its place and should be tested. Can we test a lot of other things? You know. So I mean, I'm like, as long as like no one's growing an extra eyeball and something crazy's happening, like I think that's cool. I would try it out, see how it is, because
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good replace like that, like to try to get someone to from going to, and I even know this, to try to get someone to go from an animal-based diet to vegan is tough, you know, especially because even on a standard American diet, people ate meat. People eat meat. Meat is like a standard for a lot of people. You know, it was a standard for me. It was just easier for me because my life was different. I went through war, PTSD, so it's like the correlation is more from an ethical stance, not health. You know, and I just look at it from the other foot, but not everyone can see it that way. So when it comes to that, it's like if I'm like, man, if I want to help more animals and people at the same time, why not have let's try it out. You know, like let's try it out. Let's see how it works. Let the people decide. You know, I mean, this I think that's the best way we can get the answers. Like as long as we regulate it right, make sure everything's good. Because look at genetically modified organisms. Like, how did that get into our food system? It didn't disappear. It
I mean,
happened.
there's backlash against GMOs too.
Yeah, it happened right. Yeah, but GMOs got a lot of backlash, and not all of it's bad. You know, it's good. Like when it comes, I know for sure when it comes to plant based foods, it's not bad as people think it is. You know, because we have some. This is something that's not discussed a lot online because it's just so much. It's not the most popular thing right now, but the real people know that it's not that bad. Like there's something called the Dirty Dozen. You know, and the Dirty Dozen talks about genetically modified foods or conventional foods that's safe to eat, and just buying it organic, you're just wasting your money. You know, that's all it is. It's green because even within the organic and conventional, there's some greenwashing. You know,
Yeah.
it's a business. You know, so there's truth, but it's also there's money involved. So it's like for example, bell peppers. A conventional bell pepper is just as good as a GMO one. I mean, a non-GMO organic one. It's just as good. You know, there's no you'd be perfectly fine. It's safe for human consumption, regardless of the
Yeah,
pesticides
definitely.
and stuff like that. Because they still put pesticides on the organic stuff. It's just less. You know,
Yeah.
like that's all it is. This is less stuff. They're allowed to put over 200 different types of chemicals on the plants versus the other ones that could go more. And when you kind of go deeper into the farm, like you realize that some of it is already it's genetically modified from the seed, so it doesn't require pesticide because the seed itself was genetically modified to get bugs away from it, certain bugs, certain animals not to eat it, you know, and that's how deep it gets. It gets very deep, you know. So and people don't know how deep it gets. Only farmers do who grow these type of plants. They know how deep it goes because they have conventions on it. And I had a farmer friend who gave me some seeds. They're like, bro, this seed, you can grow this. You don't need pesticides because it grows that it's not attractive for the bugs. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. So imagine now what type of stuff we got, you know. And this is
Yeah.
going
I
on.
feel
I'm
like,
just going on what I've heard again, what I've heard, what people told me. For instance, so I'm not an expert in this area. You know, I'm an expert in fitness and nutrition. Just remember that. Like meal plans, weight loss, disease. But once we start going out here, I'm just like a normal guy.
Yeah.
Just a normal dude like everyone else, like with a friend. I have a friend of a friend who has another friend. Yeah. Or I've been to that convention. Yeah, bro, this is what I heard. This is where we're at now. That just to let whoever's watching let y'all know, like this is where we're at right now. Yeah.
So I feel like lab grown meat is a good idea, but obviously there's going to be a backlash against it, and there's many people that are skeptical of lab grown meat because it's a
Yeah.
novel concept. So some states are have made it illegal, and I feel like with any technological advancement, there's always going to be public backlash. Like even with the internet, I wasn't around when the internet first existed, but there was people that oppose the internet. They're like, "Oh, why do we need this? We can just read books to do research or whatever." There's always going to be public backlash to any
Y2K,
technological
bro.
advancement.
Y2K was the big thing.
Yeah,
They're like, yo, once it goes 2000, all electronics are going to turn off, disable, like something crazy. Nothing happened.
yeah. I mean, people are always going to be skeptical of any new technology.
Yeah.
So I feel like, but with enough time, I feel like people will become accustomed to lab grown meat. And I think lab grown meat is going to become inevitable because eventually, as society gets bigger, as the population increases, you're going to need more and more farmland to raise uh, livestock. And eventually, we're going to run out of room for livestock. So we're going to have to switch to alternatives like lab grown meat. And also, especially in the future with space exploration, once humans start going to Mars, we need to figure out a way to produce food on Mars.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to bring cows with you on a spaceship. I feel like it would be a lot easier
Yeah.
to get like a bioprinter that can print lab grown meat.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Totally agree when it comes down to that. Because, like I said, I'm more about evolving like humans, not going backwards. It's about going forward. And by thinking what our ancestors and stuff like this is like, I'm trying to like live longer, advance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So I see you mentioned earlier that you have a business training people.
yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's working on building a coaching business?
When it comes down to building a coaching business, I would say number one, just start. I think that's the part that everyone don't do is they don't just start doing something, right? Um, this is before I got a mentor and when I just started like when I started fitness training, I just started. I was just like, it was like the cheapest prices ever. Like I was just like training people one on one. I'm trying to think what I did first. Um, no, I was training people for free. Yeah, that's how it started. So it started then. Yeah, what I did was I just ended up. I went to a gym. It was at NRG Fitness. Guy was looking for some trainers. He was like, meet me at 5 a.m. at my gym. It was like a small boutique gym, a small business owner. And I just showed up and just started working for 4 or 6 hours a day, learning the trade like that. I just learned. And if you're trying to do a fitness business, and let's say you're at that level, I would say, volunteer, work somewhere, or just get hired, work at a place, get some type of experience. But if you're trying to do an actual business, and let's say you're already in fitness, then just start the business. It's like for me, when it came to the business side, um, I first started with just writing out meal plans for people. And this was because I was in school at the time and people were reaching out to me like because I was vegan, and I wasn't even like promoting coach. I was just sharing stuff. Like I was just sharing like my life, like going out,
Yeah.
party, some fitness stuff, and working out, writing some stuff, and I was just getting attention from that. And people started reaching out to me like, "Hey, do you do like into training? I live in Florida, man. I don't know how I can help you." like, do you do anything online? You know, I don't know how to help you. I didn't know like what to do. And then when I got into bodybuilding, my coach, he told me like, dude, just write it in the email. Write the meal plan on email, write the workout on email, tell them what to do, just as you have your workouts for your clients on your board. And you just print that thing out, you send it to them through email, and and I'm like, what happened if they don't know how to find, like, do the workout? Like, how am I going to deal with that? Because they're going to call me all the time and stuff like that. It's like, tell them to Google that shit. and that was the answer, because now, like, I have an application, I have me teaching the video, like, it's very advanced now. But back then, that's how it was. It wasn't like just Google it, like, look it up. Like,
Yeah, now we have Chat GPT.
yeah, now we got ChatGPT, so it's like 10 times easier now to do it.
Yeah.
So I would say just start. Like, and you don't need to. It's kind of sucks to say this. I just said one thing. Now I'm going against everything else I just said. But you don't technically need credentials. So it's like, it's because now we're talking about business, right? Like, and this is real. Like, in business setting, it's like, even though I'm against what I just said, it sounds very hypocritical, but in reality, you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, if someone's reaching out, just remember, like, you're putting yourself at risk. So, like, don't take this as like, real information. It's just like you're putting yourself at risk. I'm just telling you, like, how it is, though. Like, but technically, you don't need any credentials, as you see. And if someone's reaching out, like, you just start. And the reason I'm saying this is because, like, if you start, I'm not saying like, oh, you're going to be a millionaire with no credentials, but I would say just start, be very careful what you do. And then as you start bringing in clientele, start taking that money and invest, right? And then when you have the money, go ahead, reinvest into education so you can be credentialed. So now you have more stuff, because what happens is now you're reinvesting the money into yourself. And the reason we're doing it, not just to make you better, so you can provide better service. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you just need to start. And that's why I'm saying in that particular sense, like, you don't need credential, because it does cost money. Getting a degree costs 30, 50, K, like, how many people have, certification to get your certified CPT, certified personal trainer. It's like $800, $400 to $800. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're listening to this and you don't even got that. You know what I'm saying? You do have AI. Tons of free information out there. Just follow the right people that gives out. There's a lot of evidence-based coaches now. You know what I'm saying? That teaches all this fitness stuff from an evidence-based level. You can do your research, write up the meal plan. You could learn all the right people, and then you build a meal plan, build a workout plan, Chat GPT. There's applications that's literally free that does like automate meal plans. You know what I'm saying? And you kind of like just put put little common sense behind it, you can get some results. You get some money. You know what I'm saying? And then when just remember, just have good positive customer service. Just keep moving forward. Just keep reinvesting in yourself. Because the goal is like, you're going to attract the people that you serve. So it's like, if you start off low, you're going to attract those type of people who don't have that much money either. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of catch-22 with it.
Yeah.
But when you start reinvesting, you're going to get your CPT. So now some of the stuff you learn, now you can filter out that information. Like, all right, some of the stuff this person said was BS because I believe in this model. Or you can figure out your own particular way of training, right? And same thing with the nutrition. Maybe nutrition that you were listening and following at one point, or the auto-generated meal plans or whatever that you're doing. You found a way to make it more customizable for each individual. You know, you can work with someone who's gluten free. Maybe you could work with someone who's vegan, someone who eats meat. So maybe you mastered the carnivore diet and you know how to do it in the best way possible because you start
Yeah.
learning more deeper into the literature with nutrition, right? Now you can create your own thing. And then you start reinvesting. And now when you have this data and this more information, you can start building your business because now you're attracting better clientele. You can start charging more money. And then but it just takes time. You know, you just have to be consistent with it and believe in it. And it's not going to happen overnight. Like I said, I've been in the fitness industry for 15 years. And this is my second business I've ever owned. My first business was a toy business called Fun Toys at the Sawgrass Mills Mall. And it started off with that because my ex-wife was like, it's one of the reasons why I left the military. She was just like, man, you fight for your country, you do all of this stuff, and this is how much money you make. You know, you can make way more money, more time, more freedom if you invest in yourself. You know, and when she told me that, I was like, damn, you know, like because she would work in the mall too. She would work in the mall, so I was like, let me take that advice. And make a long story short, is the most money I ever made. And I was just like, man, like I'm just working in the mall selling toys to kids. And I made like 80 grand in 1 year. And I went to Iraq, got blown up, got mental issues, and seeing people die for like 40K, that hits hard. See that shit.
So, what was the military like? Do you have any cool stories?
Huh?
What was the military like? Do you have any stories?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what do you want to hear? What type of story do you want to hear, particularly?
Like, do you have any interesting stories about combat? Anything in?
Some of the things that I've been through and some of the friends that follows me, I don't know. I don't want to really disrespect them in any way, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah, like I don't want to really share those type of stories because, like I said, I've seen some stuff and it's just like, yeah, I mean, I could tell you like mistakes, like maybe mistakes that happens and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't really have anything too cool to talk about. This it's like real stories and I don't want to share 'em.
yeah, I understand. So what job were you doing in the military?
Logistics.
Okay. So what got you into the business of selling toys?
It was just my ex-wife's idea because she had a friend that art had no business up, and you know, it's she was very sales, like she was in sales, so it didn't really matter with the product. It was just about if it could make money. You know, so when it came to a friend that had the business, he was already making a surplus of money from it. So she's like, "Hey, you buy in and make money too. You just need to learn how to sell." And I was like,
Yeah.
"That." So I got into the business and then kind of learned how to sell firsthand. You know, so
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's kind of, and in the Sawgrass Mall, it's kind of like you have to learn because it's like like I didn't learn like any professional way, but I definitely learned how to be very outspoken. Because and then really be like learning how to pocket deals and get people attention because in the Sawgrass Mills Mall, it was more like you know, it's one of the biggest malls in South Florida. I think it is the biggest mall in South Florida. And I think it's the big seventh or eighth biggest mall in the United States of America. So there's a lot of travel there. And when you're there and you own the business, rent's not cheap. I was paying like $4,000 for a small little booth per month, and then during the holidays they were raising to $9,000 per month for 3 months straight. So it's like you really need to learn, and I learn fast. Like, and that's the type of person I am. Like, I learn when I'm like, I can learn and pick up things better when I'm under pressure. Because like you have your corner, your trap. It's like, all right, I'm in the cooker, so I need to get my way out of here. So that's how it was, and that's it. So it wasn't really like, oh yeah, I want to sell toys. It'd be cool to
Yeah.
help kids. I don't have no cool story like that. It was just like, yeah, just be honest. Like, it was like my ex-wife was in sales, and she was like, whatever make money, you sell it. Technically, she's right. Like when you're in sales, like it doesn't matter what it is. If you're good at it, you sell anything, and that's one of the best things about business too, because it's like one skill set in business that as a business owner that you should have is sales. If you know sales and marketing, you're pretty good because like if anything
Yeah.
happens, you can always start over again. You just need to think what would it be when it comes to even if you had to work for somebody, you can still make a lot of money because sales is what
Yeah.
mostly commission based jobs. So there's no limit on what you can sell because you sell, the more you sell, the more you make. So it's one of those jobs where it's like it's very universal, and you can make a lot of money if you're good.
Exactly.
So you can never
I feel like,
lose. You know?
yeah. I feel like sales is applicable to pretty much any industry because any business is selling a product or service. So it doesn't matter what industry you want to work in. If you want to work in automotive or retail or
Yeah,
agriculture, restaurant, whatever, if you want to work in any industry, there's going to be a sales position.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So that's how I got in. So like, yeah, that's what I tell people. Like, yeah, it's not a sweet story. Like, oh, I saw Timmy one day when I was a kid, and I always wanted to get back. I want to get
Yeah.
back to the kids, so I made this beautiful toy store. It was like, you want to make money? The kids. This is how you're going to make it. And it was like little tricks and tactics. Like, oh, a kid walk in front of you, look at the toy, you put the toy in their hand, let them walk away. And then the parent be like, because what the parents not going to get, don't want to get. That's like one of the tactics. Like, parent doesn't want to get called for stealing, so they walk back like, where you get that toy from? And,
Yeah.
and you know what happens, right? Like, sorry, sir, I don't know how you got it, and like, oh, it's okay, man. And then the kid's like, it's like, all right, how much is it? What does it do? And I'm like, okay, man. Like, so when it comes time, and then you just, you do your pitch, you sell it, but like, little things like that. But yeah, you're right. When it comes to sales, it's sales. You know what I mean? So it's very universal.
Yeah. Anyways, you said you live in Miami, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you like living there?
It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. It's I lived here since I was 13 years old. So for me, it's home. Nothing's like it. Everywhere I've been to, I travel all around the world, and it's nothing's like Miami. And there's places I love. Like I want to get like places I would like to get second home. Like my wife now, like I would love to live where she's Brazilian, so like I would love to live in Rio de Janeiro. And I even told her and she hates it when I say it, but I want to get like a small little place in Brasilia. Okay, it's just a desert area. It's just something about the desert that I love. Only that part of the desert, really. Because just like no one's there. It's the capital of Brazil, and it's just like during the weekends when no one's there, it's like a ghost town. It's just like I love.
Isn't the capital Brasilia?
Yeah, it is the capital, but on the weekends it's empty because it's like only government people will go there. So it's the only time it's busy. It's
Okay.
Monday to Friday. But no, a lot of people don't live there either because it is the capital. So when it comes down, when it's a weekend, it's literally a ghost town, and I like it. It's like because it's like
Yeah.
it's like you go to restaurants, you go to gyms. It's like not a lot of people there. You drive around the road, no one's on the road. It's like it's like your own little place. And it's like I don't know. I like the isolation. So And it's just it's a beautiful desert. Like you just see everything, you know, you see the sky, you see the sun, like you see the stars and stuff like that. You know, it's just beautiful out there. I just love it. But Rio de Janeiro is even like it's like Brazilian. It's like Miami, but with that Brazilian vibe. And the thing with Rio de Janeiro is like it has its things of Miami, like the palm trees and beaches, but then you have the mountains. It's almost like you have a little bit of everything there, you know. And then just the environment itself.
So it's like LA.
Yeah, a little bit like LA, you know, but more. But like I said, it's like yeah, it's like let's say this. It's like if California, it's like if Miami and like LA. If I'm talking about LA, I might be completely geographically wrong about this, but like the beach of LA, you know, like or any nice beaches. I don't even know any beaches in California. Like, what's a nice beach? Like
Venice Beach.
Venice, yeah. Let's say Miami,
Yeah.
Venice had a baby, but there was mountains involved too. So we threw some California mountains in there. Like that's how that's like the original. It's just beautiful, man. Like acceptable. But what I like is just the environment itself because I love being by the beach. That's just me. I love being by the water. It's just something I love to be, except like that town. Only like, but it's like unless I wanted to spend a little time in the desert, I like that part too. And I think that's just because I was in the military, so there might probably some subconscious thing about that. But the other part about Rio de Janeiro and just being in Brazil is just the people. It's just more. It's more about life. Yeah. And when you're here in Miami and the city, it's very everything's very fast paced and you get stressed about everything. It's like you're surviving. Versus in Brazil, it's more relaxed. It's more social. Like it's just cool. Like everything slows down. Everything's more slow down. And that's why I love going because it's like you just feel this aura and it's just like no one's trying to rush and get things done fast. Sometimes it could be a bad thing, you know, but like sometimes you're like, damn, okay, like back in the States, the shit would have been done, you know. But overall, it's a good thing because it's a good place. But it's not some. But at the end of the day, it's Miami is like home for me. Even though I would like to live in different places, I'll always come back here. That's something I always discuss with my wife as well. We can live in Brazil. I'm fine with that, but I don't think I could take no more than 3 to 6 months out there at a time. You know, but I could live out there for 3 months straight, 6 months straight, even. You know, not like forever. I could
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, because it's just like there's some cultural differences that I just enjoy in America. And even there's a technology gap as well. Yeah, like with internet, um, cars. I have a Tesla, so it's like so it's like
Right.
there's no Teslas in Brazil. Yeah, so I'm just taking Uber everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
there's just there's some differences, like small little things, but like but yeah, that's overall like yeah, I love my you know. Are we almost
So,
done?
oh yeah, do you have to leave?
Yeah, I'm getting a little tired. I go to bed early. It's like
Okay, well, no worries, man. Appreciate you getting on the podcast.
yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, you too. Have a great day. Peace.
Thank you.